Tonight on Joy News Prime, the death of an elderly man at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital in the last few hours, suspected to have contracted COVID-19, has got health workers there worried. We'll bring you details even as Ghana's case count hits 136 after 4 more cases were confirmed. Upper West Regional Minister meanwhile says one of Ghana's confirmed COVID-19 patients joined public transport from Accra to his home in the region before he tested positive.
The result is that the patient is a COVID-19 patient.
In a related development, officials involved in Ghana's efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic are worried the mad rush for some essential drugs, supposedly to treat the disease, is causing deaths in patients suffering other ailments.
There are other diseases that they need those antibiotics. They cannot get them. So they are dying unnecessarily. And with the frontline workers, we are worried of this thing.
In business,
Ghana Employers Association demands emergency economic response strategy for coronavirus crisis as fears grow of massive job losses.
And the National Identification Authority has been giving the all clear to go ahead with this registration exercise after an Accra High Court ruled the exercise does not contravene the President's directive to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. And we'll be telling you all that happened in court today. I'm Israel Lion. Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlimli here in Accra with digital address GA0992539, where we're celebrating 25 years of responsible journalism. Stay tuned in. In our very first story, we're learning of the death of an elderly man at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital in the last few hours, and he's suspected to have died of COVID-19. That is yet to be confirmed, but it has got the health workers quite worried. Joining me in studio now is Emefa Apau, who has details of this breaking story. So, Emefa, what more can you tell us about this?
So Israel, we're told that this elderly man was brought into the Ridge Hospital, the emergency center of the Ridge Hospital, last night. That was yesterday, by a popular musician. For obvious reasons, I'm withholding the name for now. He came in covered, well protected, with a father who was in a critical condition, I should say. So there are 2 centers at the emergency center. There's the resuscitation center and the ICU. Because of his situation, they had to take him to the resuscitation center. But he didn't tell the health workers on duty that the man had arrived from the USA.
Or what his suspicions were.
Exactly, or what his suspicions were. He didn't say that. But they say they asked him severally, but he didn't give the response that indeed the man had traveled and come back. So when the situation became serious, then he stated that the man had arrived from the US and then started giving them the history, and then they knew what was actually, so they saw that the symptoms were close to what they were looking for when it comes to a COVID-19 case. So they tested. But unfortunately, the man passed like an hour or so ago. As we speak, the man was tested. The test results had come in, and it tests positive from the reliable sources that we are getting from the Ridge Hospital.
So it has now been confirmed,
yes, that
he's tested
positive and he died of COVID-19. So as we speak, you know, if you've been to the Ridge Hospital before, at the emergency center, if you've been there before, there's a temporary morgue at the Ridge Hospital. So currently that's where the man is being kept. But the situation, the reason why there's some fear and panic as we speak is that he came into contact with a number of health workers who were on duty last night. We are told about 15 or so of them who were on duty. So there's some kind of fear and panic. We are told they didn't have protective gears. They were exposed. You know, there's an isolation center at Ridge, but they didn't go to the isolation center. They went to the emergency center of the Ridge Hospital. So that's where the problem is. And also, you know, there's a triage, there's a number of things at the hospital. Like I said, there's a resuscitation center and the ICU. So there are patients there as well.
Exactly.
There are patients there as well.
So it's not just the 15 health workers
it's not just the health workers. We're told about 50 or so patients are also there at the emergency center. So that's where the concern is. So as we speak, they are preparing, the hospital authorities are preparing to close down the emergency center and go through a disinfection process. And I was telling you that the body of the man is still at the temporary morgue at the emergency center of the Ridge Hospital. They are awaiting the national response team to take the necessary measures before the body is in court disposed of. So that's what we are waiting now. So I can say that the man's body is still not too cold as we are expecting, because he just died like a few hours ago and still at the Ridge Hospital awaiting the attention from the National Response Team. And then we are told that the contact tracing is a technical team that has to undertake that. So all those who were there at the time have been asked to go into a sort of isolation. So there's a center, there's a place at the Ridge Hospital that they are currently keeping all those who came into contact with the man as we speak.
Will that include the patients who are also there?
That is what we don't know for now, but we're told that the whole place will be cordoned off for some kind of infection, disinfection, to ensure that there will be no spread. And those who are on duty are being kept at the Ridge Hospital, somewhere at the Ridge Hospital, to ensure that there's some kind of isolation. But they are not happy with the process, because they've said that they've raised concerns, reliably informed that on their WhatsApp platforms at the emergency center, those who are working at the emergency unit, they've constantly raised concerns about the lack of protective equipment and all that for them, even though there's an isolation center at Ridge. So that's the situation as we speak. We're told that the man tested positive for COVID-19.
Right, thank you very much, MFR. Bringing us that detail from this incident that happened at the Greater Accra Region Hospital. And the story is that an elderly man died at the Ridge Hospital. He was brought in critically ill. He eventually died, and it turned out that he died, or he tested positive for COVID-19. Now, he, before his death, had come into contact with a number of people, health workers, as well as patients at the emergency center. And as a result, they are all exposed, and they would have to, as we're looking at, probably be tested for it. But moving on to the Upper West region, that region has recorded its first case of COVID-19. The patient is a 42-year-old who traveled to Spain and the United Kingdom and had come into the country through Egypt. He boarded public transport to the Upper West region 8 days ago and subsequently stated to have the symptoms, or found to have the symptoms of the virus. Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, who disclosed it to the media, said the patient is on self-quarantine.
He took over as Upper West Regional Minister. Never has he held a press conference in such a hurried manner. Though Dr. Hafiz bin Sali is a politician who loves the optics, but not at this material moment to speak about the virginity of his region broken on the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are assembled here to announce that the virginity of the Upper West with regard to the prevalence of COVID-19 has been broken. We now have a patient in the Upper West region. But the good thing is that even before the test result came out positive, the suspect was in self-quarantine.
The Upper West region is the third region after the Greater Accra and Asante regions to record a case of the deadly disease. Dr. Bin Sali said the patient had a sojourn in a couple of countries where the disease is prevalent before returning to Ghana and the region 8 days ago.
A 42-year Ghanaian who visited UK and Spain and returned to Ghana 8 days ago through Egypt and traveled from Accra to through public transport has been confirmed COVID-19 positive. This is the first case of a suspect whose samples were taken for tests, and the result is that the patient is a COVID-19 patient.
Dr. Bin Sali said government is not leaving any stone unturned in its quest to fight the invisible enemy. However, government needs the support of all and sundry to fight the disease, which is on the verge of tearing the country's economy, society, and itself apart. He appealed to well-meaning sons and daughters of the Upper West region to come to the aid of the region.
There are a lot of things that we need. They could buy hand sanitizers so that we supply or distribute to people. They could purchase Veronica buckets, donate to us, and we'll distribute to people in the region. There are so many things that we need. If you have the capacity but don't know what to purchase, you can contact the Regional Director, Ghana Health Service. He will provide you with the necessary guide so that whatever is purchased would be of use to us in the region.
Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Osekufo Afre, spoke of elaborate plans of tracing all persons that the patient came into contact with.
And he came using the public transport. And it's very, very difficult to get the people who he came with in the bus to the place. He disclosed the kind of public transport to us, but for the purpose of anonymity, we can't disclose it. But from here, we'll be going to the bus terminal to be able to see how much information we can retrieve that can be linked to people who may have come into contact with this individual.
All right, so let's get to bring you the very latest in the statistics as far as Ghana's COVID-19 case count stands. And what we know, or what has been shared at the Ghana Health Service, on the Ghana Health Service website, is that there are 136 confirmed cases as we speak. So now 4 of the cases, it indicates that we have 4 more cases from what we had as of yesterday, and 4 of the 4 cases actually as a result of routine surveillance by the Ghana Health Service task force. So as we have it, routine surveillance, 58 cases have been confirmed so far. 1 of them has recovered. 54 are responding to treatment. We have 3 deaths. And then for mandatory quarantine, we have 78 confirmed cases. None of them has recovered. We have 78. All of them are essentially responding to treatment. There are no deaths, and none of them is critically ill. Now, officials involved in Ghana's efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic are worried about the mad rush for some essential drugs said to be used to treat COVID-19. Leader of Ghana's COVID-19 Case Management Committee, Dr. Samuel Kaba Koreye, says the speculative activity is depriving critically ill patients of essential drugs, leading to deaths, even as the country focuses on the pandemic. Dr. Kaba also laments frontline health workers giving symptomatic treatment to coronavirus patients are not spared, as a number of them are forced to do their work without PPEs, exposing themselves to the virus simply because of price gouging triggered by panic buying of medical supplies. He has been speaking with my colleague Latif Idris.
You might get to our health facility and you find out that health workers are complaining they don't have gloves, they don't have face masks. Simply because you and I, those who sell these things, those who have them, a box of masks that used to cost 25 cedis is now costing 1,500 Ghana cedis. Sanitizer, hand sanitizer, that used to be 8 cedis is now costing 40 cedis. People believe that this is the time for them to maximize profit. I'm not against that. But you cannot maximize profit over 500%. Because at the end of the day, if we the health workers, we the frontline workers, we don't have the things to work, and you get it and you come, you'll be in the same problem. Whilst we are talking of COVID-19, we are also talking of the day-to-day running of our health facilities. And in building what we call a resilient health system, you do not put all your resources into one thing and leave the rest, because then people are dying of other diseases. So, and I'll give you an example. I went around the pharmacies to check on one antibiotic, azithromycin, that people have heard that is being used, and hydroxychloroquine and then chloroquine, and they are off. But it's not for prophylaxis. But people have gone to buy them. And there are other diseases that they need those antibiotics. They cannot get them. So they are dying unnecessarily. And with the frontline workers, we are worried of these things, because then people come, they say, oh, I met with the doctor, he's not using masks.
Watching Joy News Prime, we're taking a break, but still ahead, the National Identification Authority has been given the all clear to go ahead with this registration exercise after an Accra High Court ruled the exercise does not contravene the President's directive to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. Stay tuned in, we'll be back in a bit. The National Identification Authority has been giving the all clear to continue registering Ghanaians for the Ghana card. A Court of Appeal Judge Anthony Opon, who is sitting as an additional High Court judge, held that the application for injunction, which calls the suspension of the registration exercise, is based on a grievous error and misunderstanding of the President's social distancing directive. Two citizens, Mark Oliver Kevo and Emmanuel Okra, filed the case in court, asking that the NIA be stopped from carrying out the exercise. Another division of the High Court has already granted a 10-day injunction against the NIA in a separate case filed by some 30 residents of the Eastern region. Court correspondent Joseph Akable was in court as Justice Opong likened the case against the NIA to a drunk giant walking on the lips of a fly. It is bound to fall. Joseph joins us via Skype now. So, Joseph, first, we know the two citizens had indicated they wanted to withdraw the case. What happened to that request?
And so, per what the court agreed with the lawyer when they went on Thursday, the case was supposed to be called on Friday at 9:30 a.m. And so at 9:30, when the case was called, the lawyer for the two individuals who filed the case was not present in court. But even before the court proceeded to call the case, the judge did indicate that he has received a document that was filed by lawyers for the two individuals, and the judge made the point that this is a document that is asking the court to allow them to withdraw the case. But he says because they are not around to move the motion, the court will proceed to hear the substantive issue and rule on the injunction as the court had agreed on the previous occasion. And so that was what happened with regards to the application to discontinue the case. It was because they were not available. That is why the court decided that it's proceeding to rule on the injunction as against allowing them to withdraw this particular case.
Now, the court then dealt with the injunction and the substantive case. Run us through why it said the NIA is entitled to work and that the rights of the two citizens have not been breached.
And so two main issues. The first one related to whether or not the president's directive relating to social distancing and public gatherings, whether it applied to the NIA. And the second issue related to whether the rights of these individuals have been breached in any way. On the first question about the NIA, the president's directive, the court responded that when the president gave the directive, the judge said he had listened extensively to the president's address, and he concluded that that directive does not apply to the National Identification Authority, and that the NIA falls within the class of statutory organizations or ministries, departments, and agencies like the court itself, and that the president said could continue to operate once they keep to social distancing rules and also ensure that they have a system of ensuring that the place remains clean in place, and so water for people to wash their hands, soap and sanitizers in place. And so that directive did not apply to the NIA. The court again makes the point that the Ghana card is not the only means of someone getting onto the Ghana's voters roll, as the plaintiffs have made the point in their case. And so he says that even when the registration ends in the Eastern region and they are unable to register, since they live there, they could have the opportunity to register at a later date. And so they cannot make the case that because the registration is ongoing and they feel that they are scared of COVID-19, they cannot go and register. The judge says that is their subjective decision and they cannot on that basis decide that that amounts to a breach of their rights, for which reason they initiating an action against the National Identification Authority.
Now, you have been speaking with lawyer for the two citizens. What has he been saying about this decision?
Mr. Samuado makes the point that they are yet to determine whether they will be filing an appeal or not. But as far as they are concerned, they think that the NIA cannot proceed with the registration because of the pendency of the other case, which still remains before the court with that injunction in force. We can listen to Mr. Samuado.
This particular one, as opposed to a pending injunction that is on them. That is exactly up to them.
But that injunction hasn't been moved yet. As it stands, once
so
the
10-day
one elapses.
But you see, the thing is that once the 10-day one elapses, there's that interlocutory injunction that already would have been filed. And so they will still have to overturn that particular one before. At the heart of all this, I believe, is a common sense approach. We have a pandemic facing us. And if we have put in structures that say social distancing should be the thing, why would we want to endanger the lives of the people of the Eastern region? At least for the past 10 days, we've held and made sure that the NIA has not been able to do what it wanted to do. There's an order that is operating against them. So we leave it to the judgment of the general public. And it's the Ghanaian citizen that is at stake, not us.
At the end of the court, what was that banter with the Deputy AG about?
Oh, I think that he sought to make certain comments which were not true and which were not born out of facts, and I sought to put it out clearly. He tried to attribute certain statements to me which were not true. What I said, I have put out, and that one I can defend. But what I haven't said, he could not put in my mouth. And I think it was important that that was brought to the attention of the court. You don't impugn the integrity of another lawyer in court. And I think that at the end of the day, he himself later on came to say that, let's just let this issue die. I said, no problem. But you don't do that when you know that the basis of what you are saying is not true. And I pointed it out to him that if you go to my Facebook page, you will see what I wrote. It was very clear that we were going to discontinue. That was it.
Now, Nikpakpo Samuado is lawyer for the two citizens who took the NIA to court seeking to stop their registration exercise. Now, Joseph Akable is still on still on Skype with me. Now, Joseph, the lawyer made reference to some drama that took place in court. Can you tell us exactly what happened?
And so this was right after Justice Anthony Opon had delivered his ruling. Right after he had finished, the Deputy Attorney General, Godfrey Adame, raised his hand that there was an issue he wanted to say. And he wanted to correct something that a judge had said, which related to the reason why he proceeded to deal with the injunction and not have waited for them to discontinue the case. And while Godfrey Adame was speaking, Mr. Samuado raised his hand and wanted to speak. And so the Deputy AG was reminding him that he was on his feet, so he should at least allow him finish his address to the court before he continues. But Mr. Adame was of the view that Mr. Samuado needs to allow him to finish. Mr. Samuado insisted that he wanted to make a correction. And so the back and forth ensued. For some time, the judge intervened, asked them to calm down. At that point, the Deputy Attorney General made reference to a Facebook post which he had on his phone, which he was trying to read to the court, that Mr. Samuado had posted something on Facebook which does not really help the image of the court. And so he wanted to draw the court's attention to that particular post. Mr. Samuado stood up and kept insisting that that is not accurate. The judge at that point asked the two lawyers to resume their seat, but that was not before, that was just before he had said that. The Deputy Attorney General made a remark that they were not in a market room and that they were in a courtroom. And so the judge asked them to resume their seats. Then the judge proceeded to comment on the aspects relating to why he had asked the discontinuance and not to take place and rather rule on the matter. Another interesting aspect of the case also has to do with the issue of cost, and that has generated some discussion as well. And so Deputy Attorney General Godfrey Adame waived cost. In terms of cost, they are just asking the person who has dragged you to court, who has lost the case, you're asking that the court asks the person to pay you some money to cater for your legal fees which you've expended because the person has brought a case that the court has disagreed with. In simple terms, has wasted your time. And so Deputy AG Godfrey Adame waived the cost. But the lawyer for the NIA, Kweku Esirifri, asked for a cost of 20,000 cedis. But the judge granted a cost of 6,000 cedis. So each of the individuals who brought the case to court had to pay 3,000 cedis each. And so that is also another issue that has generated a bit of discussion on social media, that these are people who have taken up a matter believing that they want to help in containing the spread of COVID-19. And they've also had to lose an amount of 6,000 cedis as a result of a decision going against them as well. So that is it by way of the banter and additional information relating to the cost that was awarded.
All right, thank you very much, Court Correspondent Joseph Akablemu. Deputy Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, William Sabi, says it is very possible the National Identification Authority will resume registration for Ghana cards in the Eastern region after a court in Accra ruled in favor of the authority. He says, although the decision has not been taken yet, it is only natural that they will have to resume work because the court saw nothing wrong with the operation. He says the Monitoring and Evaluation Ministry, which supervises the work of the NIA, will consult with management of the authority and the decision will be announced soon. He says the NIA has always taken precautionary measures to ensure adequate social distancing when the exercise was rolled out, and so there was no basis for them to stop work. He has been addressing the media outside Parliament House.
The idea is to ensure that every Ghanaian has a card. I appreciate the fact that we have a critical situation as at now, and the fact that the person who took us to court, in his view, felt that maybe we were going against the measures that have been put in place by the president to ensure that we don't spread the virus infection any longer. He had a good concern, but I think we have to go back to the instructions or the measures that the government put in place, as His Excellency the President explained. He gave us certain measures to take. First of all, social distancing, so that even if there's any infection from anybody, it doesn't spread. We are also being informed to do hands washing with soap and running water as often as possible, and we have been advised to use hand sanitizers. All these, and then face masks where possible. All these are measures to ensure that we don't infect each other. The National Identification Authority also decided to put measures in place to ensure that we are actually going by what the President has advised us to do. I can't say on my own here, as we said, that we are going back to the field. This was a decision that we took as a board, the board with the minister and then with the chief executive of NIA, the management there. And we had to withdraw when the court gave us the interlocutory injunction. Now, as the judgment has come out, it means the team will still have to go and sit down and then see whether or not we are going back. And if we are going back, how are we going to ensure that we still maintain the measures that are put in place to ensure that we avoid infection. Even though that decision has not been taken, but I can say that it's very possible that we will go, but we will need to meet and discuss before the final.
Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu, however, says he is disappointed in Accra High Court for giving the National Identification Authority the green light to go ahead with the registration for Ghana cards. He says the move gives the green light to Ghanaians to congregate for all other purposes, including church services, which he says exposes all to COVID-19.
I'm profoundly disappointed in the ruling of the court, not giving meaning and support to the directive of President Nana Addo Dankwa, the Executive President of the Republic, that Ghanaians not more than 25 for purposes of public gathering should gather in order to protect lives, human lives, and to prevent the spread of the coronavirus threat. To hear that a court has ruled that the National Identification Authority can continue with mass registration will mean that they are giving a license to public gatherings. That defeats the purpose of the President's directive, and citizens will be better justified to disrespect the President's directive. I am disappointed by that ruling. It means that the court is placing, as you've heard the Deputy Attorney General Godfred Adame, that because of voter registration and elections, so it means that we are prioritizing elections at the peril of Ghanaian lives. That can only be disappointing. I least expected that from the courts of Ghana.
Chief Executive of the NIA, Kenneth Teffo, has meanwhile rejected accusations by sections of the public of the NIA's disregard for human lives by continuing with this registration process despite the coronavirus outbreak in Ghana. Speaking on Kasapa FM, he explained the authority is only following the law.
So it doesn't end with the governing board. There is also a minister responsible for the national identification system. So minister also, or a minister of state, or part of the presidency. In this case, Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei. And you know, it doesn't begin with Ken Atepa and end with Ken Atepa. Meaning, yes, sir, it be a me epimeso and a me up to this. Now, what here for say, it is not a simple matter of Ken Atepa getting up and making a decision.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break now, bringing you business news next.
Good evening, welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. My name is Daryl Kwao. The Ghana Employers Association is calling for an emergency economic response strategy to the coronavirus crisis. The association fears there would be massive job losses and has called for interventions to cushion workers and protect their jobs. They have released a circular to that effect, and my colleague Norvan Akwa-Hayford has been going through it. He joins me in the studio. Norvan, so what economic response strategy are employers seeking?
Okay, so first and foremost, they are talking about this emergency response where they are saying that government needs to involve them in the organizing of the stimulus package that would lessen the impact of any lockdown or the impact of this coronavirus, which has hit us, you know, on businesses and households.
Okay, and so they're also making other key demands, including a COVID-19 interruption loan scheme to cushion businesses.
Yes, the COVID-19 the interruption loan scheme, they call it, is actually some kind of loan scheme that they are seeking for small scale, medium enterprises in this country. Now, what they are asking is that if that is given, that will help lessen the impact. And this kind of loan should not come with interest payment. And so they feel that in as much as there's some kind of loan facilities that is available, because don't forget that the Bank of Ghana had put in place certain measures, and we're told that that has been able to free some 3.6 billion Ghana cedis, which, right, you know, people or businesses could go to the banks and take these monies. But at what rate? That is the question that is being raised by the Ghana Employers Association. And these same people are also talking about government deferring payment of VAT and income tax payment. So which means that they're saying that, look, for the next 3 months, they are begging government that, you know, all the VAT payments that they need to do and the income tax that they need to pay should be deferred for at least 6 months for their income tax and 3 months for VAT, so that, you know, these businesses will be able to reorganize themselves and be able to withstand the shocks that they are going through as far as, you know, the COVID-19 is concerned.
And I guess the most important part, as I read the circular, was the fact that they are concerned about jobs that are going to be lost during this time of the pandemic.
Yeah, so when it comes to the jobs, they're saying that, look, the jobs that can be lost is so huge. And so, one, they are asking government, and let me just read from the document that he said, in the unlikely event of a total business closures in the country, there will be the need for government to support affected organizations in the following ways. One, support in the payment of workers' salaries for the period of the closure of the business. That means that if there is a lockdown, if there's going to be a lockdown, it means the businesses are going to be shut down. And so they're saying that government then must come in and support in a payment of salaries. And then also in the event of a layoff of workers or a consequence of pandemic, government would also have to support in the payment of redundancy packages. And of course, it looks like it's inevitable because already, if you recall, in the hotel sector, I mean,
there are massive layoffs.
Massive layoffs is already happening. Now, if you look at the SME sector, I'm sure that the Becca, that's the Salon on Wheels, was here.
The small businesses are
they've already sent people home. And so what Ghana Employers Association is saying is that government, you need to take a look at this. And then even let's look at how you can participate in, you know, ensuring that if people even need to go home, how do we pay for their redundancy packages? And government may have to, you know, put in some packages to help them.
And they're calling for support to be able to produce locally. You know, around this time, there are restrictions when it comes to imports and exports. Countries are being very careful. What kind of support are they asking in that regard?
Okay, so when it comes to this kind of support, what they are saying is that, listen, we have challenges in the country. We need government to help us. And most especially when it comes to the raw materials that they need. And these raw materials, I mean, some can be found in country, others will have to come from outside. And if you have to import, don't forget you need to pay duties at the port and all that. And so they are saying that government needs to intervene, help, talk to certain countries. And if you look at the pharmaceutical sector, we talked about the essential ingredients that were needed, to help even produce sanitizers. At a point, we didn't have sanitizers on the market. You had to take manufacturing, that is the beverage manufacturers, to decide that they would, go in there. So they're saying government needs to support them. So in the nutshell, if you read their press release or circular that they have issued, they are asking for government stimulus package, and they're saying that, look, if government needs to put together any package, they need to be part of it.
Okay. Now, let's move on to some other news. Travel and tour agents are calling for tax release and government support as their businesses grind to a halt following several travel restrictions in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Speaking to Joy Business, CEO of Moontouch Travel, Radia Adamasani, revealed airlines are not able to give cash refunds to passengers, but rather vouchers for rebooking due to the unavailability of revenue.
The World Travel and Tourism Council has warned that the COVID-19 pandemic could cut about 50 million jobs worldwide in the travel and tourism industry, with travel likely to slump by a quarter this year. The situation has dealt a heavy blow to the travel and tour agents, with several flight bookings being cancelled. Speaking to Joy Business, CEO of Moontouch Travel and Tour, Radia Adamasani, said passengers can, however, not get cash refunds but vouchers to reschedule their flights.
Well, this is something that no one really expected. It just happened. And then people really want their monies now because they feel they are not in a position to travel now. And at the same time, the airlines can't also get the cash refund for people at the moment. So they are doing it in form of voucher. And it takes the travel agencies, we are the betweeners between we stand between the passengers and the airlines, and so we get the explanation from the airlines, we give it out for the passengers don't agree, we get back to the airline, they also state their condition, we move back to passengers, so we do the back and forth, and it's a very difficult situation. Right now we are just working without ending because these are the things that we are working on to ensure that we actually reschedule people's flights for a later date, and some that are asking for total cancellation and refund, we handle them. And so right now it's just in the form of vouchers the airlines are able to give out to people, which is open for 1 year.
She adds discussions are, however, ongoing with the Ghana Tourism Authority to seek the much-needed government support for the industry.
We are in talks with GTA, Ghana Tourism Authority, which is also collecting some data from the various travel agencies and some airlines. So it would submit to government and then we'll see. But for us, we actually hope that government would do its best to reduce taxes on us and even taxes on staff of travel agencies on their salaries, so that it helps the situation to get better.
The global revenue for the travel and tourism industry is estimated to be $568.6 billion in 2020, a decrease of about 17% from the previous year. For Joy Business, Sheila Tamaklo reporting.
And that's all for business for now. The news continues after this break.
Right, it's time for showbiz, and it's at a time when we're not having shows.
Yeah, we're not having
everything
shows.
Is actually, being shut down, and seriously affecting the entertainers that we have in the country. So what do you have coming up?
Today I have a friend joining us via Skype, One Love the Kobolo, if we have him.
Oh, yes. You have One Love joining us via Skype. One Love! You're good?
Corona's come. Corona.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not good actually.
Okay.
And I think we are all not as good as we hope.
Okay, so we'll be coming to you in a bit.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him what's been happening, how this corona is affecting One Love the Kobolo. One Love, if you're still there, how is the coronavirus pandemic affecting your career as, you know, human being.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when, One Love, I know that you have shows out there, you tend to perform out there on international stages and all that. It means you can't do that now because all those stages have closed.
Yeah, so at the moment, I was supposed to be on tour with FOKM Boys. We've lost about 7 to 10 concerts, cancelled all the way to July. And our agency, which we just signed to a year ago, has had to go into bankruptcy. I mean, they had so much invested in the future that they've had to let go of half of their staff. And also here in Ghana, I'm supposed to be rehearsing with a different band, which has been signed by another big agency in Germany. And that's also not happening. So a lot has come to a standstill so far as my music career goes, live music.
So if you're saying that the agency has gone into bankruptcy, it means that the shows that they lined up for you are not going to come off, even if we've dealt with COVID-19.
Wow. Yes, some have been postponed to next year. Some have been postponed a month or two, like a couple months later, but most of them will not happen because the promoters have lost a lot of money with their pre-organization, because there's a lot of investment into the pre-organization of the concerts. And so it's not looking good.
All right. But I know that you're doing something, apparently doing something on your own locally about this COVID-19. You called something Anu Dross. What's that all about? And why Anu Dross?
Well, Anu Dross, I mean, for those who speak Akan, any of the Akans understand that it means mouth panties. And this is actually a real fake news report that myself, Sister Deborah, and Pigeon TV did to just raise awareness about the second-hand goods that are polluting our environment and how we can now re-export those baller goods back to Europe by making Anu Dross, which the rest of the world really needs. And I think it's looking like Ghana also needs this Anu Dross now. And so it's really a real fake news reports. But now it's looking like we are going to have to really start producing these Anu Drosses.
So Anu Dross, from what you're telling me, you're essentially taking second-hand clothes that have come from Europe and the West, and you're transforming them into, nose masks and then sending them back.
Yeah, face masks. And of course, there's a standard. It needs to be 100% cotton. So it's not really going to solve the problem of clothing pollution here in Ghana, but at least what is 100% cotton can be repurposed into these Anu Dross face masks.
But One Love, do you think that as a country we're all doing enough to curb the coronavirus, pandemic, to just eradicate it completely?
I mean, of course not. I don't think any country did enough. Maybe the people who did the most was China. Other countries took a long time to react, just like I think Ghana, just like America did, with Trump saying, "Oh, it's going to go away," and so we are still going to shake hands and the rest. And now America is the leading corona case, has the leading corona cases right now. And in Ghana, of course, the travel ban came a bit too late, and even after the travel ban, a lot of people were still getting into the country. Through, how, Kulululu and those things. And so, we haven't done enough, but, so we have to do way, now that means there's more pressure on us now to do way better.
Now, One Love, there's talk, there's talk about a lockdown, a possible lockdown. Are you prepared for it?
Yeah. I'm lucky enough to be prepared for it because I have at least maybe 300 to 500 cedis on me I can use to buy my chop box provisions. But a lot of people don't have that amount of money. But fortunately, as we said we don't like foreign aid, but again, we went to ask IMF for money, and IMF has approved about $500 million. So I think what Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, can do now is prioritize taking food and water, sending the police, the army into the less privileged areas, into the slums and so on, and make sure everybody has enough food and water to last during this lockdown so that we don't arrest people and disturb people that come out on the streets and disobey this lockdown because of hunger. Because as you know and I know, if you are given the choice to fear corona or fear hunger, you fear hunger.
Now, you talk about 500 cedis. 500 cedis can't really buy you much for your chop box, can it?
And you still own one.
I mean, me, I'm very simple. I'm not going to buy cornflakes and milk and the rest. I take a baby. A baby is a disco formula of gari, sugar, and water. But even now, I've stopped taking sugar. I learned in Nigeria that they just drink gari with water. And even the gari, if I'm just making some tomato stew and the scent is coming, I can chew the gari and use osmosis to inhale the stew. And so I know how to survive. I can survive on about that amount. But some people don't even have 50 cedis or 5 cedis.
And how about the personal hygiene and social distancing, washing your hands? Are you observing all that?
I'm trying my best, and I've noticed that at least I have to go to the shop around the corner and here and there, and the people too are trying. Like there's water dispensers outside, there's sanitizer, there's soap. But like the other day, I was walking into a Shell. I finished washing my hand. I walked in, they sanitized me. But somebody there, they just walked into the place anyhow. So it's like cost 90. But so I hope we all like take it more serious because people are getting sick fast. Like I saw right now, you guys reporting about the Ridge Hospital being on lockdown from a new case. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, One Love, for making time to speak with us. And all the best with your Anu Dross campaign.
Thank you, guys. All the best, and stay strong.
Sure.
And tell the government to send food with the police into the slums, not use the police to just be worrying people.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm sure they've heard. That's One Love Kobolo. And just by way of information, we're just getting an update in the COVID-19 stats for Ghana. We're learning that we have 137 confirmed cases. And now we have 4 deaths. So that's the very latest we're getting. 137 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 4 deaths.
Yeah, Easy. Yaya, musician Yaya, has also been joining this campaign, asking people to wash their hands and basically tell you what to do.
Hello, lovely people. My name is Yaya. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I know that we are in difficult times, but I just want to encourage all of us to stay positive and know that this too shall pass. Quickly, let me share with you what I'm doing at the moment to keep safe. First, I'm washing my hands with soap and water as much as possible. And the second thing is I have my hand sanitizer on me anywhere I go. If I have to step out, I have my hand sanitizer on me. I'm cooking from home, eating from home, and eating healthy. Very important. Drinking my vitamin C, listening to as much music as I can because music is life. So I have my album out, so I indulge myself in listening to Ago album. So if you've not heard it, please go out and listen to it. One thing that I'm doing with my fans on social media is we sing. I post things about singing and also the information from Ministry of Health about COVID-19. So if you're out there, if you're following me, just look out for some of the videos we are doing. Participate. I mean, we don't have to get all moody. We have to get our spirits up and know that things will turn out for our good. Things will turn around for our good. So I love you all. Keep hope alive and be blessed.
Yeah, we love you too, Yaya. But the First Lady has also joined the He's Got the Whole World in His Hands campaign. Let's listen to her.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely has.
She did beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way I expect it to be done. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for bringing us Showbiz. That'll be it for Showbiz. But we have more news coming up. Stay tuned in. Now, people have been charged to stay indoors to help control the spread of COVID-19, but are people adhering to this directive? Let's take you live to the Osu Oxford Street, where my colleague Nancy Mbefadra-Dozie is stationed. Nancy, what is happening now where you are?
Right, Israel, I am standing on the street that people say never goes to sleep. And I am surprised at what I see today. The streets are virtually empty. If you know this place, I'm currently standing around Frankie's, a very popular ice cream joint. And ordinarily, this entire street is filled with people to the extent that you hardly find people, you find even a little path to actually use. But today, the story is different. There's free flow of traffic. Nothing is virtually happening here. And when I was coming, I realized that the cars were moving freely. All the pubs that used to buzz with loud music has all gone silent. And this is actually where I'm standing right now, is the T-junction. Here's the T-junction that leads to Republic. And you only find a few cars parked there, and the entire place is dark because the lights have been switched off. I would want to walk a little bit to one of the most popular pubs you would find here at Osu, which is also known as Corner, that opened recently. So you can see somebody coming with a nose mask on. I have observed that whilst I have been here for the past 30 to 45 minutes, that a lot of the people that are walking by are actually wearing nose masks. I've seen some also wearing gloves, but you'll find that a lot of the shops are closed. In fact, when I got to the runabout, I realized that some of the shops was virtually empty. In fact, the popular ones like KFC, Papaya, and some of the shops there, you'd find only one or two people sitting in there having a meal or trying to buy some and taking it away. So I'm currently at Corner. Ordinarily, if you come to Osu on a Friday, this joint is actually very choked. But today, the streets are empty, Israel. Very, very empty. So you realize that the cars are just flowing. No human being is actually passing here at this time. And that is the situation here. It appears people are adhering to the calls for them to stay at home. You would find that the pubs are shut, no music buzzing, very peaceful. The streets that never goes to sleep today finally went to bed early.
All right, but I'm also seeing that there's some people who are walking out there on the streets and they're in clusters, which means that they're not really practicing the social distancing that we're talking about.
Mm. Yes, so you realize that the people you normally find walking about are people who are moving in twos. So you find two ladies or a gentleman and a lady walking around, and basically I've seen that all of them that are around here just go into a certain shop to buy something, but not necessarily, just standing here or waiting for anything. So I can say that, I have seen a lot of people, but it's not as compared to what you find on other days, Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Mbefadra-Dozie, bringing us that live update there from Osu. Now, coverage of the Swami Magazine Enclave on Friday's disinfection exercise in Kumasi was delayed as drones deployed by the authorities could not fly due to poorly laid power cables. The operation dragged as manual sprayers and other equipment mounted on pickup vehicles had to be mobilized to fill the gap. Nana Aljima followed the exercise, which many residents have rated as successful.
Swami Magazine, Kumasi's auto industrial hub, has many metal engineering and vehicle repair workshops manned by over 200,000 artisans and apprentices. Per disinfestation plan, a drone was expected to be used high-rise and other secluded areas, while manual spraying guns are concentrated on sections unreached by the drones. Initial execution went smoothly as chemical spread was aided by wind, which experts say enhanced reach across surfaces. After some time, the poor cable mounts will not allow drones to fly, forcing authorities to review their plan. Here is Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Collins Intim, on the setback.
The major challenge has to do with the Swami. I've realized that we need to double the logistics requirement of the area because the place is vast and the people are very optimistic to support. So we need to take advantage of it and then organize all the resources to be able to do effective work. And I'm happy the chairman himself of the Zoom Lion has said that he's organizing all the drones, all the manual spraying guns to come here. Because when we come to Kumasi, Swami is key. Apart from the central market, apart from KJT, apart from Swami is key. And it's require optimum attention, concentration, and the support.
Immediately you cough into it and wash your hands with soap and the running water.
To fight COVID-19, leadership of the industrial enclave went around the public address systems, educating members. Yao Bronya is chairman of Zone 6 of the Ghana National Association of Garages. After the disinfestation exercise, I'll go to the municipal chief executive and find out how we can help get a lot of these Veronica buckets in the area. We need them to protect our people and also our customers. Finally, Swami Municipality's 10 market centers, mainly small and medium-sized, were all covered in Friday's disinfestation. Though 2 days earlier, traders in all markets had been duly informed about the exercise, a few recalcitrant ones showed up to do business. They were, however, forced to retreat when they saw military men among the personnel who were undertaking the exercise. Dr. John Osebo Biebuahin is municipal chief executive.
In fact, after this exercise, we will come down to educate our mothers to space out. I saw a picture of traders in India, whereby the trader place was marked for the customer to stand, while the trader was also sitting at another place. And I think we don't have that capacity here. You look at the floor, it's not the best. However, we will be educating them so that they don't get crowded. That has been a major problem for us. But what is interesting is that gradually the people are catching up with the need to protect themselves against this dangerous virus.
So when should we start coming to them and visiting the markets to see that you've ensured that this spacing has been adhered to?
You know something? If we delay, the effect will erode. We are not going to delay.
For Joy News, Nana Aljima reporting.
Well, 25 markets in all, including the old and new markets, as well as the Kumasi Abattoir, were action spot for mass spraying on streets, walkways, lorry terminals, and labour firms. Erastus Asaradonko was with another team that covered the Kumasi Central Market in our report.
The old but sprawling Central Market, Dr. Mensah and Kejitia were targets for one of the many teams deployed by the local government ministry. Backed by military contingents, gangs swept through the streets, alleys, and every available space, administering the white chlorine mixture meant to rid all surfaces of microbes. The Zoom Lion spraying vehicle started from the frontage of the old Central Market through to Asafo Interchange. Another team with mobile spraying machines worked their way deep into the foodstuff yard, commonly known as Bode, covering walls and makeshift structures. Deployment of drones into open airspace attracted anxious residents who lined the streets to watch in defiance of a directive to stay home. Perhaps the disinfection exercise could not have been complete without covering the Kumasi Abattoir. Deputy Local Government Minister Collins Ntim and Kumasi City Mayor Osei Esibe Entry shared their impression.
So impressed about the level of cooperation, support by the media to the fight against the coronavirus. I'm so happy. My minister is so overwhelmed because the basic ingredients required to fight this virus has to do with the knowledge and how we'll be able to proclaim the knowledge to that. And that is an area that the media has done so well, and we commend you for that. With respect to the general public, it's been impressive. the attitude, the comportment, the compliance, it's amazing.
Yes, we plan more than this because not only the drone that is doing the spraying, we have vehicles and we have manual sprayers too. This market is a very big market, but the drone is there purposely for the road and the rooftop and all the others. We have a lot of areas that will need a vehicle. The vehicle will be coming because we are from KGT. There they are using the vehicle, and the manual ones will enter into the various corridors and do the spraying exercise.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
And then Multipack, manufacturers of Five Star Energy Drink and Perla Mineral Water, Friday donated 3,000 bottles of water, 10,000 gloves, 720 pieces of sanitizers and 480 bottles of hand washing soap to the Immigration Service. Head of Marketing and Sales at Multipack, Rabs Broji, says that donation is to enable the officers work effectively in the quest to contain the spread of COVID-19.
We are here today at the Ghana Immigration Service to support actually our country to avoid or to kick out this pandemic coronavirus. We are here together today, one hand, to kick out this, and then we support to our people, to our country, to our nation. God bless Ghana.
Deputy Comptroller General in charge of Finance and Administration at the Ghana Immigration Service, Judith Kotolomo, said the products will facilitate their work.
I say thank you, and I promise the company that we would ensure these items get to all our borders, our 48 borders, approved borders. And this includes airport, Aflao, the seaport, Tema, and Takoradi. And our district offices, which are also 42 in number, and the 16 regional capitals. We have managed to procure some in the past. We continue to procure. We have received some support from Ghana Health Service. And this is also adding to the support we have received so far. You all agree with me that these items are for everyday use, and some of them are even disposable. So we may even be procuring more and be requesting for more.
A glitch in a newly installed software is forcing the West African Gas Pipeline Company Limited to shut down its plant in Tema to make way for repair works. Beginning midnight Saturday, work at the company that operates the West African Gas Pipeline is expected to come to a halt for the exercise to begin. My colleague Latif Idris has been speaking with the Energy Minister, who says the shutdown should not affect power supply.
In an upside-down world such as what the world is experiencing today amidst COVID-19, one critical commodity the world needs is power and energy. Energy Minister John Peter Amewu is today visiting WAPCO, where the company has just announced a shutdown of its power plant for 6 hours starting Saturday midnight.
During the commissioning, we found a glitch with the new software we installed. And that glitch has been corrected, but we have to load it onto the live system. So we will have to safely take down the system to then be able to access the distributed control system that controls the plant, load this new software, test, make sure it actually works effectively, and get it running. And that's what's going to be the critical part. Because right now, the current facility is operating safely. It will shut down if we determine a fire or a gas leak on it. But the concern is our audible alarm systems are not working. So the workers on site won't hear the evacuation alarm. Additionally, it's also a reliability issue. Currently, if we were to have a trip, it would take us several hours to get restarted at the facility, when our normal process is only less than 30 minutes to get the facility back up and running after a trip.
Energy Minister John Peter Amewu is, however, assuring the Ghanaian population that the ministry is aware we are not in normal times, and is assuring that the power will be kept on for 24/7 in the midst of this COVID-19 period.
We are just hoping that the 6 hours really is a 6 hours. You know, it's not 6 hours, tend to be 6 days. That will cause a lot of disturbances. So we hope the right thing is done, you know, for Ghanaians to enjoy uninterrupted supply of power. These times are not normal times. We expect the power on. People use the power supply, you know, to turn on their taps in terms of water supply. And that is why we are here to really see that the works progress smoothly without any interruptions. Thank you.
Right. So, Honorable, how are you ensuring that, you just mentioned that we are not in normal times, how are you ensuring that we have power 24/7 throughout this pandemic period?
Well, my Deputy Minister is in charge of that arrangement. I think putting some plans.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. We have enough power, gas to all the power stations. Liquid fuel is available, gas is available. So as far as we are concerned, everything is really primed for us to have uninterrupted power supply.
From the WAPCO plant here in Tema, this is Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, built several hideouts. All right, you're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break at this point. Do stay tuned in. It's now time for the Joy News editorial, and Arava Kumsing has that.
These are extraordinary times. I believe you are now a germaphobe. You are scared of germs and infections. You have washed and disinfected your hands these past few weeks more than often. You've avoided handshakes and hugs, all in a quest to live. In fact, life is precious. If nothing at all, coronavirus has taught us to value our lives more. Coronavirus is no respecter of persons. Even your wealth cannot save you. Prince Charles has it. Prime Minister Boris Johnson also has tested positive. COVID-19 has the world on its knees. Businesses are crumbling. But that is not our biggest worry, because so far as we have life, we have everything. Now a lockdown looks imminent. The Ghana Medical Association is calling on government to lock down the country to halt community spread of the virus. It looks like the appropriate thing to do. Well, China, Italy, Spain, US, the UK, South Africa, Rwanda, and India, they've all locked down. Now, with Ghana's coronavirus cases at 137, the state must take charge and protect all citizens and residents of the country. As the thought of a lockdown lingers, we should consider these questions. How many hospital beds have we dedicated to coronavirus? How many doctors do we have to handle coronavirus? How many ventilators do we have? Do we have enough personal protective equipment? We ask these questions because even countries with robust healthcare systems and resources are on their knees. It cannot be business as usual. We are not spreading fear, but we have to act fast to stop the spread of the virus. Or some have argued that in the event of a lockdown, they may be free from catching the virus, but they may die of hunger. This point makes a lot of sense. There have been many calls for people to stay at home, but what about the homeless? Does the Social Welfare Department have a plan? Perhaps the state can consider these proposals. All school activities have been suspended, so we can use classrooms to house the homeless. Will the state consider putting the homeless in dormitories and provide food for them? This is the time for us to have community spirit. If your neighbor is less fortunate and you have more, please support them. And by the way, those traders who have taken advantage of the situation and increased prices of goods and are ripping people off must bow their heads in shame. The bond of humanity and decency that we share is stronger than any adversity. Let's live, let's love ourselves, and fight this COVID-19 together.
You're watching Joy News Prime. Welcome back to business. The effects of the coronavirus pandemic on the global economy will be dire and lead to the greatest economic recession ever. That's according to senior partner at KPMG Ghana, Anthony Sapong, who says it will be a challenging time for smaller economies and frontier markets like Ghana. He, however, believes the strategies deployed by government to deal with the situation will determine if businesses will be affected. Anthony Sapong spoke to my colleague Ebenezer Sapute.
The level of recession is still under study. It's not quantified yet, but it's something that is going to be great. And we should know that the effect on the economy is such that after the event, it also takes a long time for economies to also pick up. So one would expect some level of recession in that respect. Yeah.
So in expecting some level of recession, what should be the mitigating measures? What should governments be doing? What should private sector be doing in order to mitigate the impact of this recession that we may be expecting?
Okay, thank you very much. So in situations of this nature, it's important that individuals, households, and businesses, and for that matter, government, understand the level of impact it has on them to be able to deal with such situations. Now, on a broader scale, one will find that the pandemic, as it escalates or as it's managed, the manner in which it is managed has inverse relationship with economic growth. So if you're able to manage it, you take drastic measures that impact on the growth of your economy. So the more you are successful dealing with it, the higher the impact of slowing down your economy. Now, what it means is that people who are producing in the productive sector, they will have limited inputs to be able to do that. And of course, even people's income will also go down because whichever form of income that they are generating, they will not be able to do so. That also affects the level of demand. In terms of people who provide finance, they will not be able to do so, or people will be saddled with debts at astronomical cost. And all of this is going to impact. And on government side, if businesses are not growing and they are not making the right profits, then of course the right level of profit contribution in a form of taxes to government activities will be slowed down. What it is recommended in such situations is one to have a structured framework to minimize the impact on businesses and households. One, I think for each business it's important to have a structure in place that is led by the top executives of the business as well as other functional areas as what we call crisis management team or business continuity team. They will have the primary responsibility to continue to assess and monitor the impact of the virus on the business. But having said that, it's also important that individuals in every organization are made responsible to take actions that are necessary to support the business. Second is the people. The people in every organization will continue to be key assets, and that their well-being and safety in these situations are important. So the level of communication, the ability and sophistication to be able to work from home so that the businesses are not completely shut down is important. And each business must assess to what extent will shutdown affect me and how much of my people can I deploy remotely to be able to continue things that can be done.
Is it the right time for governments to run to either the IMF or the World Bank, the Bretton Woods institutions? Because many things that smaller economies like Ghana and other African countries are rushing to the IMF, and for them, they are rushing. Is it the right time for us to go, or you think we should relax a bit?
Okay. I think the impact on government will certainly be there in terms of, because this is an extraordinary situation, which ordinarily all governments, including our government, wouldn't have considered and budgeted for. And then, of course, the amount of financial support that each government needs to be able to deal with such a situation is significantly enormous. We've seen in other developed countries, they have been able to announce various stimulus to support their businesses and as well as the individuals. In the case of Ghana, certainly one would expect that government will put in some measures, but obviously a call for external help to augment what we can raise locally will be in the right direction. And I want to believe that the managers of our economy will be thinking through that and be making the right calls for the necessary support.
The Ghana Union of Traders Association is urging more banks to consider deferring loan repayments as it would help cushion businesses hit by the coronavirus pandemic. Speaking to Joy Business, President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Bing, commended Republic Bank's decision to defer loan repayment for a maximum period of 6 months.
I'm very excited, and let me take this opportunity to congratulate Republic Bank. I do recommend most of our members to this bank, because if you recall, they were the first bank that also during the recapitalization that made the convergence this thing. They are proving to be one of the best bank, and I really recommend them for listening to our plea and come to the aid of their clients. Because most of us have a borrowed capital, and now we cannot turn over our capitals. So if you cannot turn over your capital and then still you are paying the interest, that one, it means that you are heading for bankruptcy. And so having waived about 6 months for their customers is about the best thing that any bank can sacrifice for its customers. And I really do encourage other banks to also follow suit. And I recommend Republic Bank for leading the way. I believe having come out with that, other banks will follow suit. Other than that, people should just look into it and see which bank is there for them. That's what I've been saying, that we are looking at all of them, because this thing is a partnership thing. The fact that we come for loans from you doesn't mean that we are working for you. We are working together. And these menace that have come, the outbreak of this disease, is not as a result of somebody's negligence or to duty. As this is a global for us to look in that tangent and know that if somebody is not being able to turn over or pay the interest, then you should also recognize him and then come to his rescue if the person is your client.
Next, a summary of some other news stories you may have missed today.
The management of Ghana Water Company Limited, GWCL, has introduced a temporary billing regime to bill customers based on an average of their last 3 months' consumption, that's from January to March. In a statement issued by the Public Relations Officer of the company, Stanley Marty said this has become necessary so as to reduce the frequency of visits by meter readers to the premises of customers following the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the company has assured it will revert to meter readings by meter readers when the situation normalizes. An undisclosed source at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has revealed that the National Food Buffer Stock Company will develop an outline system to supply food to underprivileged homes and also support food distribution companies in Ghana. According to the source, the Food Buffer Stock Company is working to produce some essential goods should the country face a possible lockdown. Operators of intercity transport services in Accra are recording one of their dry seasons as passenger traffic keeps declining due to the coronavirus pandemic. Traveling by bus forms part of the transportation bloodstream through which coronavirus has rapidly spread. Reports indicate that intercity bus terminals are complaining of hardly meeting even 3 trips a day.
And here's how we are ending the week on the commodity market. And that's your business update tonight. Gary R. Smith is ready with sports, so stay tuned.
Thank you for staying with us on Joy News Prime. Time now for the sport. I'm Gary R. Smith. And former Kotoko boss Herbert Mensah is urging local businesses to support the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. He is arguing that because people have given so much to their business, it's time for them to give back to the society.
Those of you who are in the business community, those of you who are politicians in past governments and present and future to be and whatever it may be, who have benefited from businesses, have put pressure on businesses that support us, whatever it may be, or you represent them in some capacity, I'm appealing you to reach out to them and ask them to contribute now. Yesterday, I went to the Legon Hospital and made a contribution, along with Sunda, a company that helps me greatly with Ghana Rugby, helps me greatly with May 9th, helps me greatly with all the projects that I've been involved in to help people and to change lives. And I said to them, we need to help Ghana at this time. And they gladly, with their wonderful products of detergents, soaps, and others that are manufactured locally, they understand that they've invested here with all their factories, diapers and Pampers, soaps, Keda for tiles. And the managing director for Africa, Isaac Hu, understood. Patrick Shrang, the domestic managing director, understood. And Laurie Lee from Keda also understood. And then from there, we went to Noguchi and made a very large presentation there as well. The point I'm making is that it's not about me. It's about me putting pressure on people I do business with. And I was saddened when I went to Legon and they said they hadn't had any private donations since COVID-19 became an issue. Because that's where the samples are taken before they go to Noguchi. So I'm reaching out and appealing to all of those who are businessmen in the middle classes who do make money from associates to assist. Stop sitting down and relying or depending on the government to make big decisions. They are making big decisions. We've been fortunate enough that the government has been at the forefront in terms of African countries of making decisions. Now the big decision is, where do we go?
Herbert Mensah making some good points there. Still on the pandemic, as you know, the Olympic Games have been shifted to 2021, but they'll still be called the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. And Ghana has also been affected because some of the athletes who have either qualified or were on the cusp of qualification will not make it. One of them is Butchie Nkegbe, the para-athlete extraordinary, who is articulating his disappointment at the postponement of the Games.
When I heard the news, it was a heartbreaking for me, not just a heartbreaking because of I'm looking forward to go to the Olympics, but because of those who are also preparing, those who are putting in all efforts to qualify to Tokyo, dream has shattered. There's nothing we can do at the moment to just be strong as elite athletes. Be tough in your mind. All hope is not lost. It's just opportunity for you as to get prepared again. Just do whatever you know you are doing as elite athletes and be ready for next year. I can say it has happened and you can't control it. And these some of the things that you can't control in your sports career. It might happen, be injury, be a sickness or everything. So it just happened. So I'm just taking it easy, just taking some time off now, like 2 or 3 weeks, and I will start preparation again, hoping to be ready anytime I'll be called on.
Throughout this week, we've brought you the reactions of football stakeholders, players, coaches, and other people who have been applauding the effort and also giving general advice on what you should do to prevent yourself from being affected by this horrible disease, and also just giving general support. The latest is Jurgen Klopp, the Liverpool boss, is this time giving a round of applause to the frontline workers.
Hello. Myself, the staff and all the players of LFC would like to take this opportunity to deliver a message to say thank you to all the incredible people who work in the health services, so all the health workers, if you want, out there. It's unbelievable what you are doing, and on behalf of all of us from LFC, I would like to say thank you. Or, how we would say in Germany, vielen Dank.
Pelo trabalho que você faz, nós agradecemos muito.
Sending a massive thank you to all the healthcare workers in the UK and all over the world for the incredible job you're all doing. You're so much appreciated by everyone. Thank you so much.
Massive hand clap to all the health workers who are risking their lives on our behalf. I'm Gary Alsmith, and that's the sport for now. You know what to do. Keep sanitizing, wash your hands properly, and keep your distance socially.
And that'll be all for the bulletin. I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.